More than 1,000 people in the region belong to geological societies and potholing groups, spending many of their weekends underground in places like this. Because they're amateurs, they're not bound by workplace regulations, which would restrict their access to areas contaminated by radon.
Well, there's the increased chance of getting cancer in later life. But there's also some claims, a growing number of claims now from mineral collectors that go into places like this, that a few hours after they've come out of these mines, the ones at very high levels, they've developed red skin, which is thought to be burns from the radon decay products.
I think anybody who is passing by any of these areas casually is probably at no risk at all. If there are people spending long times in areas which are known to have high radon levels, then they would need advice about that, probably from the National Radiological Protection Board.
The NRPB, or National Radiological Protection Board, is the government's radiation watchdog. We've tried for 3 weeks to arrange an interview with the NRPB. It says none of its staff has the time to talk to us, but issued a brief statement.
Standards may be needed to control exposure to radon in some caves and abandoned mines. The NRPB is considering standards for recreational exposures and is holding discussions with various interested parties.
Locally, radiation risks are monitored by the District Council. Both Carbis Bay and Botalloch lie in Penwith. Penwith Council also declined to be interviewed. Again, they sent a short statement.
Councils have to rely on the expertise and advice of the National Radiological Protection Board. The NRPB has investigated all known sites in the southwest, and regarding the locations mentioned by you, they have advised me that these sites are not considered to be a hazard.
The dangers of occasional contact with naturally occurring radiation at these levels are considered small, but repeated and prolonged exposure is a different matter. In West Devon, environmental health officers plan to put up warning signs at the entrances to disused mines.
Well, the dangers are all related to the length of time, really, that you visit the mine for. Some mines have very high levels of radon, and some are a lot lower, but it is associated with the level of time that you spend in there. And we estimate that for people who are spending a couple of weekends, a couple of hours perhaps every weekend coming down mines like this, the risk is very real indeed.
Many of the mines are easily accessible to the public. This one near Veritee is adjacent to a popular picnic spot. And inside some of them, there's clear evidence that inquisitive visitors are exploring the caverns. West Devon Council plans to put up the first of its warning signs early next year. Meanwhile, it appears that the NRPB is finally considering its own exposure limits, though it's not yet clear how those could be enforced. Until some action is taken, hundreds of people will still expose themselves unknowingly and unnecessarily to radiation. Daniel Bircher in West Devon for West Country Live.
And we've considered moving, but I mean, we can't pass it on to other people.
Limited grants are available from the council to carry out work to eliminate radon. The estimated cost for work on Toad Hall is around £2,000. Fortunately, the halls have been offered help from the government and a private firm. In the meantime, the problem is causing great disruption and worry to the family.
The gas is heavier than air, so it hangs around about 3 feet off the floor mostly. Our child's smaller than 3 feet, so we've got to try and keep her upstairs or keep her off the ground floor floors, which means we've got to live upstairs to a certain extent. I go out as much as possible because I don't want to expose her to those sort of levels, and we have considered moving out until the work's done, but that's impractical because I've got no relatives nearby.
Veritee Reed Hall believes the government isn't putting enough money into research nor providing councils with adequate funds for preventative measures, and she agrees with the parliamentary committee that it's the public who must force a change of attitude.
I think people are trying to hide it, they're trying to run away from the problem, they don't want to really find out that the houses may be high. And I feel that they should find out because their children are at risk. They found out, had it remedied and perhaps pushed for grants for people who can't afford it, there'd be a lot less problem.
John Webb, Secretary of the South West Radon Committee, said it was the government which was failing to act.
The nature of radon is by now well known. It's an invisible radioactive gas which seeps from soil and rock, particularly granite. Exposure to it increases the risk of developing lung cancer. Such is its danger, the National Radiological Protection Board recommended that Devon and Cornwall, which has plenty of granite, should be made special areas. Also, new building regulations say that all new houses should be radon-proofed. However, that still leaves the majority of homeowners with a dilemma: whether to test for radon, and if the results are bad, whether they can afford the remedial work. In a bid to help, every district council in Devon and Cornwall and both county councils have joined the South West Radon Committee. But MPs on the Environment Select Committee, hearing evidence from Carrick Council, said local authorities should do more. That provoked an angry reaction from the Secretary of the committee, John Webb, a senior environmental health officer for Teenbridge.
It seems to me the government themselves have done nothing since David Trippier's statement in January last. That's nearly a year ago. That we were promised further information on radon reduction methods. That hasn't materialised. At the same time, we've never been given individual results of radon in houses, so we start at a disadvantage. But on the contrary, the councils themselves in the South West have been doing a lot. We formed a Radon South West committee. We pooled our resources of knowledge and experimentation, and in the time since January we have come up with our own answers to many of the problems of radon reduction in Devon and Cornwall.
Homeowners whose properties need remedial work can apply for grants, but they are means tested, and Mr Webb said most would not qualify.
We've made recommendations to government to say they should probably relax the means testing in relation to radon. The Radiological Protection Board made recommendations to government to declare Devon and Cornwall special areas, and I think under that sort of heading the government could now look to see what way they can help. This is one of them, to relax the grant requirements.
A spokeswoman for the Environment Department said even if a grant was made to all who applied, it would still be subject to means testing. She said the government funded 3/4 of the cost and councils should be able to meet the rest.
The tests were carried out in the mid-Somerset town of Street. It's got among the country's highest levels of radon, a radioactive gas caused by the breakdown of uranium in granite. Tests carried out on 20 non-smokers there by experts from the universities of Sussex and Bristol increased number of mutant white cells in people's bloodstreams. These so-called mutants are considered harmless, but radon has already been linked to the comparatively high levels of leukemia in the southwest, a black spot for the gas. The leader of the team carrying out the tests at Sussex University says the findings are so far inconclusive, but doesn't rule out the possibility that the gas could be linked to more dangerous conditions.
If the elevated level of mutations that we see in the blood cells of these people is due to radon, and that has to be proved, it's not yet proved, then it does call into question what we think we know about the effects of low levels of radon. And we certainly feel that the ways we measure the radiation dose from radon and what the effects of that dose might be would have to be looked at.
The professor's colleagues in Bristol say the research is important because it's the first time the effect of radon has been tested out on people in their own homes. The survey could have shown the possible effects of low radon doses, but further tests will need to be carried out to see if radon could be the cause of these harmless blood mutations.
Well, we then would have evidence of a measured effect for radon for people in their own homes. And of course that would have implications for the action limit for radon. We would have a direct measurement of what level of radon people should consider radon remedial measures, should consider reducing their radon level in their home.
The Sussex laboratory is the only one of 4 in the world which can carry out the tests, which are extremely time-consuming. It could be another year before the results of a further survey will be known.